Hi, this is going to be an Excel spreadsheet tutorial on amortization loans. And so the good thing about having a spreadsheet on an amortization loan, so like for example your house payment, is that you can not only see when your house is going to be paid off, but it allows you to kind of fool around with things like it allows you to say, okay, well, what would happen if I started paying $100 extra a month on my principal payment? You know, how would that affect my loan? How would that affect the duration of my loan? How many years could I shave off? What would happen? Or if you're looking at refinancing, it gives you a lot of options. It really gives you a good idea of what's going to happen when you refinance. Like, is it really going to be worth your while? And we'll talk about all that after we finish developing our amortization loan spreadsheet. So this is the basic template that you'd want to use. So if you're copying this, I suggest you pause the video and mimic it as you see fit. Something to keep in mind is that there are going to be percentages and there's going to be dollar amounts that we use. And so when you're entering a percent in, for example, you want to make sure you enter in the decimal of the percent. So if I was going to do 5.25%, I'd hit 0.05 for 5%, and then 25 would give me the 0.25. Because what happens when you calculate a percent, when you hit that percent button up here, it's going to multiply the decimal by 100 to get to the percentage. So that decimal point is going to move forward 2 spaces to give you your 5.25. So there's my decimal. I'm now going to come up here and I'm going to click the percent button, and it turns it into a percent. Now you can see I wanted a 5.25%. To appear in there. What it's done by default is it has rounded that 5.25 down. You can still see the 5.25 registered up here. So what you need to do to include those decimals is you come up here and you can add and subtract decimals from your number. So the one on the left will increase your decimal spaces. The one on the right will decrease your decimal spaces. So I'm going to increase it by 2, and there's my 5.25%. If you want dollar amounts, you just enter in the number, click on the cell, and click the dollar, and the dollar amount will appear automatically. So just a heads up on that number formatting before we get into things. So now we're going to get into the actual how do you make the loan sheet. First, you got to start with total cost of the house. So I'm going to say it's a $115,000 house. Next, we want to enter in our down payment. I'm going to say $10,000. I think that's a pretty average down payment. Your loan amount. Okay, so how much money are you taking out in a loan? That's always going to be in hit equals. You're going to take the total cost of the house minus your down payment. That's the amount of money you're taking out from the bank. Your interest rate. I'm going to do a 5.25% interest rate. So I'm going to type in 0.0525. Hit enter. There's my 5.25% interest rate. Like I said, I already formatted my cells over here to number formatting, so that's why it automatically turns my 0.0525 into a percent. The number of years you are taking out the loan for. Okay, so typical is 30, so we're going to go with that. So now we want to calculate our monthly payment. So we're going to hit equals PMT, which stands for payment. That's the payment function. And so they want to know what the rate is. That's the first thing. The rate, 5.25%. So we're going to click on that. Now, keep in mind, that rate is an annual percentage rate. So in other words, a yearly percentage rate. We want a monthly percentage rate. So we're going to take our annual rate and divide it by 12. Comma. Number per. Okay, and per. How many periods are you paying for? We're paying for 30 years, but we're doing monthly payments, so I want to know how many months am I paying. I'm doing 30 years, and to get the number of months I'm paying, I'm going to multiply that 30 by 12. And last but not least, the PV, that's representative of how much you took the loan out for, which in this case is $105,000, so I'm going to click on B3. Now the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click my mouse in front of the B3 and put in a minus sign or a negative sign to make sure that that $105,000 comes up as a negative value, because what that's going to do is it's going to turn my monthly payment into a positive value. It's important to recognize that your monthly the amount of money you took the loan out for is debt you have accrued, and debt is negative. So I'm just changing that to a negative. I'm going to end my parentheses, hit enter, and you can see I have a monthly payment of $579.81. Now, this does not include property taxes or homeowners insurance. If you escrow all of that into one payment, then you're going to see a higher mortgage payment on your bill when you get it at the beginning of each month. You might see something like $800 or $900 on there. However, out of that $800 or $900, your monthly payment towards your mortgage is only $579.81. The rest of the money out of the $800 or $900 is going towards homeowners and property taxes if you escrow. So now we want to figure out, at the end of the loan, after I paid off my house, how much money did I really pay? So we're going to hit equals, and we're going to take our monthly payment, and we're going to multiply that by 360 because that's how many months I am scheduled to pay for. When you hit enter, you can see that even though I took out $105,000 for my loan, I'm actually going to end up paying $208,000 if I stick with this for all 30 years and only pay the bare minimum of $579.81. So you want to know how much interest you paid after you paid off your house? Hit equals. We're going to take the amount we paid total. We're going to subtract the original amount of the loan that I took out. Hit enter. And I paid $103,000 in interest at the end of that 30 years, which is almost as much as what I took the loan out for to pay off the house. So you're literally paying almost 100% in interest if you stick with the loan for 30 years. So now that we have our essential basic information pumped in here, we're going to come down here to the real meat and potatoes of this sheet. This is where all the really sometimes depressing information comes into play, but this is where all the manipulation happens, so you can really kind of see what options are best for you financially. So what we want is the first column is going to represent how many months, what month basically you're on in your payment cycle. So there should be 360 payment cycles. So right now I've only got the first two listed, and I'm going to highlight both of those cells. I'm going to go here to the bottom right corner where that black square is, put my mouse on it. When I hover my mouse over that black square, you'll see a black plus sign appear. I'm going to left click and hold, and I'm going to start dragging. You're also going to notice that there's a number in a box to the right of my plus sign, and that number is 5 currently, because what that's telling me is I have 5 cells highlighted. I want 360 cells highlighted. The great thing about Excel, by clicking on this box and dragging it down, Excel is copying the pattern down that it sees. Right now it's got 1, 2, so it sees a +1 pattern. So it's automatically going to, when I get down to 360, it's automatically going to enter in the numbers 1 through 360 for me. Because it sees that +1 pattern, and it's going to repeat it. So you can see it numbered everything correctly for me. So you don't have to enter in those numbers manually. So next is the beginning balance. The first month, your beginning balance is obviously going to be the original amount you took the loan out for. So equals, and I clicked on B3. Monthly payment. We already calculated that, so equals B7. Hit enter. And now we want to do the monthly interest. Monthly interest is calculated by taking the beginning balance of the month and multiplying it by your monthly interest rate. So it's going to be, so you're going to take your annual interest rate, divide it by 12, which gets you your monthly interest rate. And if you multiply your monthly interest rate by the beginning principal balance of each month, that actually tells you how much interest you're paying for that month. You hit enter. You can see that the first month that you pay for your house, your payment is $579, but the interest you're paying is $459. So only a little over $100 is actually going towards paying off your loan during the first month. You're paying way more interest in the first month than you are principal. So we're going to calculate the principal balance now, so you can see how much money you actually paid off your loan this month. So we're going to take the monthly payment, subtract the interest, which will get you what's left over. So you can see that you only paid $120 off your total loan amount, your principal loan amount, and you paid the banks $459 in interest. So that's money in their pockets. And so your ending balance at the end of this month, it equals going to be the beginning balance of the month minus the principal payments, the amount of money that paid off the principal. Enter, and you can see that we still have at the end of the month $104,879 left to pay on the loan. So since the beginning balance actually changes each month, I want to make sure that I hit equals, and I'm going to now put in a formula to calculate the beginning balance. And so that formula, or I don't even have to put in the formula. We're going to hit equals, and then you just click on ending balance over here, so that the spreadsheet knows that the ending balance of last month is representative of the beginning balance this month. Okay. So some things I forgot to do that we're going to go over now. There are certain things when you're entering in formulas that need to be absolute. In other words, they don't change. For example, my monthly payment is not going to change. My monthly payment is here in B7, and that will always be true. B7 is always going to be the reference point for my monthly payment. So this B7 here that we enter, when we put in equals B7 over here for monthly payment, I'm going to highlight the B7, and I'm going to hit F4, and you'll see these two dollar signs appear next to the B and the 7, and what that's done is that's told Excel that this value, this B7, is absolute. No matter where I copy and paste this information to, always look to B7. So for example, we talked earlier about how if you click this bottom right corner and drag it down, it basically kind of copies and pastes the function and follows the pattern. So what it normally would have done, so I'm going to come back, what normally would happen, I'm going to come back here to my monthly payment. You can see and I'm going to undo the absolute that I put in. So we're just going to go back to the regular B7. Now remember before, Excel naturally looks for patterns and copies those patterns. So it says equals B7 right now. So if I copy and drag down to the next cell, you're going to see that something really wonky just happened. Now it's telling me my monthly payment's $208,000. Okay. What happened was because I copied and pasted this formula to the cell below it, instead of looking at B7, you're going to notice it's now going to look at B8 because I copied and pasted in one cell below. It's taking everything in the formula, every cell in the formula, and dropping it down once. We don't want that to happen. The monthly payment isn't going to change like that. So what we need to do is highlight the B7, hit F4, and that's basically telling Excel now when it sees this, it's saying, okay, this B7, we're not looking for a pattern here. That's just always going to be B7 when you copy it. So now when I copy it, because if I hit F4 and enter, okay, you can see those dollar signs there, which means it's telling Excel don't look for a pattern. Just copy and paste exactly what you see. So now when I copy it down, you can still see that I've got the dollar sign B7 copied down. It's copied exactly what I entered into the cell. It's not automatically trying to look for any patterns. Okay. On the monthly interest rate, okay, we do want the B12 to change because remember we're trying. The monthly interest rate is calculated by multiplying the beginning balance of the month by the monthly interest rate. Now the monthly interest rate does not change. That's always going to be the same. It's that 5.25% divided by 12. So we're going to highlight the B4. We're going to hit F4 to make that always the same. We always want to look at B4 to get and divide it by 12 to get our monthly interest rate. But the B12 represents our beginning monthly balance. That is going to change. So every time I drop down a cell, I've got a new beginning balance for my monthly for the month. So I want that to change. So you'll see when I copy this down, okay, and we click on this, the B12 went to a B13. It's now looking here for the beginning balance of the month instead of up here. So we definitely want that one to change. We want the B13 and the B12 to change, which is why we didn't hit F4 on those. So now the principal payment is all set. You don't need to absolute anything. You don't need to hit F4, so you can just copy and paste that down. The ending balance, again, it's something that we want to move down. We don't need to absolute anything, so we're just going to copy that down. So now we have a whole row of formulas that we want to copy. And we want to copy them to all 360 months or 360 payment cycles. We're ready to do that, so you're going to go back to this black dot. Now my plus sign has appeared, and you're just going to double click it. And what that has done is it's copied and pasted the formulas straight down. All the way until it hits the 360th month. And the reason why I did that is I had from here to here highlighted, and it basically what it does when you double click that is it copies and pastes everything in these cells, these formulas, down until the data to the left, so my months over here, ends. So the second it saw that there was no data in this cell here, it stopped copying and pasting all the data over here. And so what this does now, what we've done now is we've effectively created a chart where we can see each month. So depending on what month you're paying, okay, whether you're in the 12th month, 37th month, whatever month of your payment that you're on, you can actually see how much interest you're paying this month, how much principal you're paying, and at the end of the month, how much should be left. What should your ending balance be? So this is a really, really cool tool, because now what you can do with it is you can kind of tinker around. So let's say you're on your 12th month. You've been paying for a year now, and you're thinking you finally came into a little bit of extra money. You can afford more than the bare minimum, and you're like, okay, well, what happens if I, want to pay an extra $100 a month off the principal? So we're going to take the monthly payment. You're going to in the 12th month, we'll highlight that cell. We'll come up here to the formula bar, hit space plus 100. Okay, so we're going to add on another $100 to our monthly payment. We're going to hit enter. You can see right here I've got the $679. I'm going to come up to this little black box again. I'm going to double click it, and it's going to copy and paste that straight down. And we're going to watch the ending balance. We're going to start scrolling down. We're going to watch the ending balance. Eventually what's going to happen is that ending balance is going to hit a negative right here. So when it's in parentheses, that means you've actually paid off your house. We've actually at this point paid $65 more than what we were supposed to. And if we follow it over, we can see that instead of paying off our house in the 360th month, we're actually able to pay off our house in the 274th month. So we actually just shaved off about 85 to 90 months of payments by paying that extra $100 a month after the first year was over. And so you can, and if you want to go back, if you want to revert back to the original way, like you did that, you saw what you wanted to see, say, okay, so that's $100 a month for me. I want to try something else now. I would hit Control Z, which would undo what you just did, and everything's back to normal. All right. So now you might say, okay, well, what if I do $150? So you could enter in 150 up here. Or whatever it is that you want to enter in for a value, however much extra a month you can pay. And then you can double click the black box down in the bottom right corner, and then you can scroll down and you can see how quickly it is you're able to pay off that loan. How much time do you save on your loan? So the other option you have too is like if you're looking at refinancing. Okay, this is what you're currently doing, right? And so you can see that, you know, you've got down here on the 360th month when you pay your bill, okay, you'll have $0 left in your ending balance, and you'll officially have owned your house after 30 years. Someone says, hey, you interested in refinancing? Okay, so what we want to do is we're going to come up here to the top left corner, click that, it's going to highlight everything. We're going to copy it. Okay, so Control C. I've got stuff in sheet 1 and sheet 2, so I'm actually going to make a new spreadsheet. I'm going to click this button here, and I'm going to come over this new spreadsheet, and I'm going to paste everything from my previous spreadsheet because I want my original one intact. This is my original one. I want that one intact. So I'm actually going to name it. Double click on sheet 3, and I'm going to name this one original. Now, sheet 4 is going to be my refinance. I'm going to double click. I'm going to name it refinance. So let's say we are in our 12th month, okay, of payments, and we know we have this much money. Or let's scroll down. Let's say you've been paying your house off for 5 years. So we're going to go to the 60th month, which would represent your 5-year mark. This is how much money you owe on your house. So I'm going to copy that. That's how much money I owe, which means that's going to be the amount of money you're going to take the loan out for when you refinance. So I'm going to paste that amount into my loan amount. What did I do? Alright, so I know it was, I messed up my copy and paste, but I know it's going to be around $96,000. So I'm going to click $96,000. Okay. So I know that when I refinance, I'm going to be refinancing $96,000. And my new interest rate, let's say it's going to drop all the way down to 4.25 instead of 5.25. So I've entered in my new loan amount, I've entered in my new interest rate, and it's still going to be a 30-year. It's reset my 30 years, right? So now I can see that by refinancing with a interest rate of 4.25 instead of 5.25, the total amount I'm going to pay is $170,000 at the end of the 30 years. Now let's say that it's a little depressing. I've already paid off 5 years. I only had 25 more years on my other loan. You know, now I've got, you know, I mean, my monthly payment's cheaper. You can see your monthly payment's cheaper. You're down to $472 instead of $579. So you're saving almost $100 a month, which might make finances easier. Maybe that's what you needed. Maybe you needed that extra $100 a month in your pocket, or maybe you're just looking to pay your house off quicker. Now, if you want to pay your house off quicker, right? Then what you want to do is this is your new monthly payment. So your new monthly payment's lower than it was before. And it looks like it is lower by about $100 and $107. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down here. We want to make sure that if you want to actually pay your loan off quicker than the 25 years that you had left before, you want to come up here and you're going to click on the first monthly payment, and you're actually going to add that $107 that you are now currently saving in monthly payment, and you're actually going to continue to pay that extra $107, but that extra $107 is now going straight towards your principal. Hit enter, click on the cell, double click, so it copies straight down, and so now we're still paying the same amount we were before, but now we should be able to get it paid off a little bit quicker than we were before. So before we had 25 years left on our loan. If we scroll down, oops, I already passed it. If we scroll down, you can see that right here is the month when you will have it paid off on the 262nd month. So if you want to know how long that is, you take 262 divided by 12, because there's 12 months in a year. And you can see now you've actually shaved off a few years off your loan. You've only got 21.8 years left instead of 25 years left on paying your loan off. So you did save yourself a few years if you continue making the same monthly payments that you are now. Or if you don't want to continue making the same payments, you just want cheaper payments, you got 30 more years of $472 instead of 579. And so this ending balance is 170,000. Before, your ending balance was 208. Now, granted, you paid 5 years of that. So if on your refinance you want to know, is the total amount I'm paying going to be more or less than it was before? So we're going to do equals. We're going to take this amount that we're going to pay off after the end of the 30 years, and we're going to add in parentheses. We were paying $579 before. We paid it for 60 months. And so now I'm going to ultimately, at the end of the 30 years, I'm going to have paid a total. So after all 35 years of paying on both loans, I will have paid $204,754. So I'll actually have saved myself $4,000 in the long run of total payments at the end of the cycle if I just continue making the minimum payments. Plus, I've got an extra $100 a month in my pocket that I may not have had before, which may allow me to afford my bills or maybe make things more comfortable each month. So that is an amortization loan. Hopefully I explained that clearly. It's the first time I made a video on this. I just learned how to do this a couple days ago. So hopefully this came across okay. If you understand everything, if you have questions, let me know. Email me. And I'll be glad to answer your questions. Thank you for watching. And tune in for any more videos that you wish to see. Thank you very much.